Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota podcast. This is your South African cricket podcast. We talk all things South African cricket. And yeah, apart from the news of the Champions Trophy, which we'll be talking about, there hasn't been much in the South African cricketing scene. We've had a couple of, we've had the Proteas women's captain for full time being announced. That's Laura, so we're happy about that. But the most important thing that's been happening on the cricket field is the SAA West Indies A tour. I know there were some Division 2 matches, which we'll catch up on. Shaylin Pillay scored a double century for Eastern, so that's a good thing. And we're here. And if you're watching me wiping sweat off my face, we're sitting in the middle of a heat wave, so it's fun. So we'll get through with a whole lot of head wipes. So maybe you want to do a drinking game or something. But anyway,
that's gonna be the case for both of us. It's hot here in Cape Town as well.
Yeah, my word. Yes, and to think that there was like the West Indians and the South African A team were playing at the Mpho Park in the middle of that. We got a little bit of rain over the weekend, but it wasn't much. But yeah, that's essentially what it was. So before we carry on, please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Please also follow us on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Send through your comments. Also like us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Or not like us, but like follow us on X and Twitter. We post all our videos there. And yeah, just engage in the conversation. What we're doing, right? So today we're still talking about the SAA inbound series versus West Indies A. We're recapping game one. The first game was at Mpho Park, and South Africa A and West Indies A went hammer and tongs. And it resulted in a 1-wicket win for West Indies A in the back end of day 4. J.M. McAllister scoring the winning runs. And also shout out to Mpendulo Magubane, also known as... Oh, I forgot his Twitter handle. Oh my word. Anyway, we'll remember it. But he was doing a really great job at producing some commentary for the game to kind of add a little spice, and add a little bit of context to what we're seeing there. Okay, Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm happy to inform listeners and watchers that I have put my phone on mute, so you won't get any phone rings in this week's episode.
You might get mine, so who knows? Yeah. How was it to have an SAA tour or a game this week? Because I felt pretty cool. It's just obviously you can't have the guys who are in SA20, but it was really nice to see some SAA action.
Yeah, look, it was really good. It was really good to see a competitive fixture played by two, I think, well-balanced sides, going, as you say, hammer and tongs. And what we saw was a really good product. We saw a really good product of cricket. I think we saw the right result, but it could have gone either way. I think both teams could go away from it going lots of positives. Yes, there are negatives, but there are lots of positives. I think that's important to focus on that. As Mupundwala was saying during the commentary, this series is important for both sides. This series is important for the West Indies series against Australia coming up, and it's important for our boys because we're going to New Zealand in the new year. So they are playing for something. It's not just like a random series in the middle of a gap. There is actually a purpose for the series. So it added context, it added competition. So yeah, I loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I think for me that's one of the things I enjoyed about it. Right, it wasn't just a bilateral series of them. Guys actually wanted to prove themselves, and West Indies are on a point where like every spot is up for grabs. So too South Africa, there are some key spots up for grabs for the next tour. So it was really, really cool. So let's give you a recap of what happened. South Africa A batted first in that game at Mpho Park. Keegan Peterson scoring 59 of 91. Tony DeZorzi 55 of 103. South Africa got 287 for 9. Jaden Seals, a man you've seen play for West Indies before, he took 3 for 23. Akeem Jordan 3 for 61. In the reply, West Indies got 314 for 9. Tej Narayan Chandapal scoring a 78 of 150 balls. Kevin Hodge, 73. Tabo Mureki, who was for me the surprise, and we'll talk about this, right? 3 for 56, DNP 2 for 60. South Africa A in rare response got to 250 all out. Neil Brunt scoring 104, which many think 100 that might seal his spot to New Zealand. Zubair Hamza scoring 30 in that second innings. Akeem Jordan 3 for 58. Kevin Sinclair 2 for 39 for the West Indies, and the West Indies was set 224 to win. And Kevin Sinclair, who took 2 wickets, was 80 not out with Kirk McKenzie 36 for 70. Kevin Sinclair had some incredible and important partnerships with the lower order to help them get there. Mihlali Mpongwana took 3 for 25 and Dempy 2 for 58. All I can say there, Tim, is what were you happy about with SAA? Were there any people who you thought put their hands up with SAA?
I think I was happy with the fact that they played a positive brand of cricket. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the way they went about it in that first innings, um, I'm going to focus on the positive of that first innings. You
Yeah.
saw Clyde Fontaine scoring 53 of 70 balls. You saw Bellingham scoring 47 of 50,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw Keegan Peterson scoring 59. Tony's was a bit slower, but Tony's was a bit slower because that opening spell from Jaden Seals that first hour was
Was something else, eh?
absolutely
Oh my.
outstanding. So he had to do a lot of putting out of fires. But those four, the
Mm.
fact that they got themselves in, 3 of the 4 got to 50, against what I actually thought was a very good bowling performance of the West Indies. I thought they got their licks and their lines spot on from ball one, which was a huge surprise to me. Um, so I think that there, right there, from the first innings, is probably the biggest positive. You got 4 guys there that need to score runs. You want them to score runs for different reasons,
Mm.
and they did. Um, that's in terms of a positive there for me, and also the
Yeah.
speed of it. It was purposeful cricket. It wasn't holding it in type of thing.
Yeah. Look, I think for me, the batting kind of gave me a lot of hope. So, like coming into the series, you kind of felt that with the squad that we're going to pick for New Zealand, the batting was kind of okay. They could keep you in the game, right? And you saw that with the way in which they batted in the first innings, right? Outside of Neil Brunt chasing a wide one, everyone got a start. You would have wanted someone to get a big score and take it there. But against a good quality bowling attack, you put something down that was competitive, right? And to a certain extent, for me, I was happy with having Bellingham, Hamza, Peterson, even Tony DeZorzi coming into the runs. Obviously, you want big ones, but you kind of thought this is a start, right? If this is going to be a core batting lineup going to New Zealand, guys are scoring runs, right? And then in the second innings, Neil Bunt gives us a century, and then you, as Shukri, are saying, yeah, just a couple of things there. We might. So the thing for me is, I think, is the recognition that they need to lean a lot more on the batting. So you need to kind of blow them out with the bat, right? Bat once, bat big, put down 300, 400, and then put them under pressure with that because your bowlers at times aren't attacking. They don't threaten. And for me that was the thing or not irritated. Let me say irritated. That was glaring in there, and something I'd be concerned about. Right, is from a bowling attack perspective. Tsepo Moreki, Pongwana, Hardest, Duan. There's no guy you can say I can throw the ball to and get me a wicket. Right, guys told hard. Tsepo Moreki surprised me because I think he he reminded me of Lazard Williams, right? It's a lot of effort. It's he understands how to get guys out. It's just that for me, the pace doesn't scare a batter, right? But he's got some balls.
I,
And
I,
you
I
saw that with those wickets.
yeah, I think with him, you know, um, I think the thing with him is with this move that he's made, he's lift the cape.
Mm.
I think he thinks he can deliver. I think he thinks he can step up to that next level. You don't go from the Cape to Gauteng to
Mm,
finish off your career. You go to Division Two, or you go to, with all due respect, somewhere like the Northwest. He's gone
yeah.
up there and said, "You know what? I'm here. Pick me." And
Mm,
what I've seen from him in the last 12 months, just before he left Cape Town, was he gained that extra yard of pace. He is,
mm,
yes, you want him to be a bit quicker, but he's definitely gained an extra yard of pace, which he didn't have 18 months ago, in my opinion. Um, Injury's been part of that, so to
yeah.
see that their progression is excellent. But you're right. Before a ball is bowled, if you say to me which three fast bowlers are going to New Zealand, I'm going
South America's not there.
hardest. Yeah, Tipperary is the one that's missing out. And the pick of the pace bowlers in this match for SAA was Tipperary
Yeah.
by distance. By
Mm,
distance. He could have easily had five in that first innings. He only got three, but he could easily have had five. Um,
yeah.
he bowled really, really well.
And that's a surprising thing. It's kind of like a Lazard Williams, right? Lazard doesn't present as a guy who's a threatening bowler, but at the end of the day, he takes wickets. He brings a lot of energy to the team. And to a certain extent, he was kind of one of the guys who actually brought South Africa A back into the game when West Indies were running away with it in that first innings, right? And so for me, that was the surprise. And that's what these games are for, right? Give guys an opportunity and maybe he can, take that step up, And so for me, that's he was one of the guys I was really, really surprised with. Um, Anybody else surprised you? I know Mihlali took 3 for 25, but we've spoken a lot about him on this podcast, and I'm happy. I'm sitting there going, he just needs a lot more opportunities. He just needs to keep playing more games. No pressure on him, but if he can just produce these types of, because to me this is like an average performance, largely because there wasn't much with the bat. But if he adds a little bit more with the bat, gives you 30 runs, 40 runs here and there, then it's a good performance, right? And to a certain extent, you're looking for him to be more consistent with that. And I was happy with this performance. I thought, brother man, you took key wickets at key times, and you bowl really well. And in a world where the likes of Duan and Hardis were struggling to take wickets, he's a guy you can throw the ball to, and so it's not it's not someone who you can be like, um, you know, you can solidify as a number 7, but still a lot of work there, especially with the bat. But I like what I see with the ball. I know the potential with the bat, and so you just want to give him time, and he just needs to play more games.
Yeah, look, the result here is, so when we lost, I was not like, oh, damn,
Mm,
look at us losing again. The result isn't the goal here. We would love to win the
hmm
series, of course we would, but the goal here is to get guys performing well. So you
yeah,
had the guys scoring runs in the first innings. We've got wickets there from Guana. It's performances, guys stepping up at the plate and saying,
mm,
"Pick me, I want to be on that plane." And to a large extent, I think a lot of the guys did that. Um,
mm.
they'll be disappointed, I think, from batting perspective, that they didn't kick on, but they still scored runs. They scored runs, so that's a positive. It's less so much of a, shall we say, surprise, but it was. I suspect. I guess it was just because we haven't seen him for 2.5 years. So if we didn't see him for 2.5 years, it wasn't that surprising that he was on the money from the get-go. But to see Dane Pete bowling as well as he did, I know it's only 2 wickets in each innings, but
There was that
again,
one wicket he took. Oh my word, the ball went the other
could
way.
easily easily have had more wickets. Um, so it was lovely to see him back.
Mm.
It's like he's never left really.
Yeah,
He's always been an accurate bowler. His accuracy was there. He didn't bowl any half trackers or full tosses. Or if he did, I didn't see them. Um, And I guess the other thing is Fortin's keeping. I I I I love
Yeah,
watching
he was
that boy
very
keep.
good. He was
I just
really,
love
really good
watching.
behind the stumps.
No, the stumping was outstanding.
Yes. Yeah, and like to a certain extent for me, and that's what Dane is, right? Dane is always going to come in with wickets. He's going to pitch in. He's going to do his part of the lifting, and you want someone who is a veteran as a spinner going with you to New Zealand at least, right? You don't want a new spinner who isn't in his proverbial prime, is new, learning new conditions, and essentially that's what Shukri picked, right? Dane's traveled the world with the team before. You could have gone for Sean from Berg, could have gone for Mahima, but they haven't played for the Poachers before. And to a certain extent, if you want to give this series a go, you need to give somebody who's played for the Poachers before. Yes, you can give a spin coach and a spin camp, but it's different to someone saying, no, but I've seen this before. I've played here before. And really, really happy that he's taking wickets. And to a certain extent, his currency is wickets. If he's taking wickets, all this, oh no, but who, so and so, just it will just fall away. So, yeah. The one area for concern for me, Tim, and let's talk to areas of concern, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this, is the bowling. Outside of obviously kicking on with the bat, and to a certain extent, that comes with time. You know how South Africans start slowly. Um, but I think it's the bowling. I think for me, the inability to close out a game when you have them in trouble. Let me just check what it was at like in
Well,
those
that
final stages. It
that
was
last partnership,
it was
that last part,
171 for 9, and that
yeah,
last partnership went for about 14.
that last partnership had to make 53.
Yes, 53. They did.
Mariki and Olivier put on 27 in our second innings, which I thought at the time could have been absolutely crucial. They had
Mm,
to make double that. They're number 10 Sinclair
11.
and
Sinclair and then
11.
number 11, Jay
Yeah, and
McAllister.
McAllister had to
Yeah,
make 53.
yeah, and to a certain extent, it was kind of like, oh, we're back here again, South Africa, not being able to take out the tail, and you find yourself in trouble. And to a certain extent, I can't blame these guys, right? Largely because they're not necessarily the spear. They wouldn't be my traditional spearhead to my attack. If I had a guy like Lutus Apamla here, I'd be like, yeah, I can blame them because Luto's your guy. Luto's the guy who comes, takes wickets. He's quick. He's fast. A lot of the guys don't even get to 140 anymore. So that was for me the thing to be like. It's just mostly just getting the ball to seam off the deck or swing. But obviously with an old ball, there isn't much. Maybe a little bit of reverse. There wasn't there in that game. But you can't if you can't wipe out the tail. That's a worry. But clearly across all our bowling in South Africa, we can't do that.
It was huge. It was a huge what's the word? Red flag for me. The fact that
Mm,
they couldn't finish that off. Um, when you look at the situation as you rightly pointed out,
mm,
I it's difficult for me it's difficult for me to criticize Neil Brunt and his decisions. I
mm.
understand why he brought himself on.
Yeah.
It actually made sense because Neil Brunt, what he's going to do is he's going to bowl wicket to wicket. He's going to bowl accurately. He's going to bowl, and you would expect the number 11 to have a swipe, to have a hit
Yes.
across the line, to play, to misread one, play for the spin. So I kind of get that. But by bowling him, you're saying to people who have played for the Proteas, people who have got fantastic test record, Olivier averages
Mm,
21 as a Protea. You're saying to Olivier, you're not going to be able to get this number 11 out. That to me is a, if I'm Olivier, and I think, as I say, I think that Brunt was probably right because it took not just Olivier, but it took our three-prong pace attack an entire innings to work out where to bowl that pitch. In that
mm.
first innings, they all bowled back for length short, and I know they like to bowl there. I know they like the hardest, and Olivier particularly like to bowl there.
On the high
But
felt, get
but
excited with the bounce.
move from where you are. Move from where you are. You're not at the Wanderers anymore. You're not at the
Yeah.
Centurion. you move with where you are. Bowl where the pitch tells you to bowl. West Indies A
Yeah.
bowlers, okay, they've got a slight excuse in that Jaden Seals is the only one that can really bowl short. So
And he can
only one
crank it
that's
up.
got,
We know that. We've seen
and
it,
he
right?
could crack it up. But the rest of them, they all knew that they had to pitch it up. They pitched it up. They caused us problems. The fact that we took an entire innings to work out the right links and lines to bowl in our own country suggests to me that it's
We've got bigger
it's a
problems,
problem.
but it's a systematic issue across the entire system. Like even if you had Joe Kutsiya Kagiso and Lungi there, same issues would suffice. It would
Yeah,
take them a while to
yeah,
adjust to the pitch, and then it would take them. It would take a whole lot of mathematics and a whole lot of things for us to bowl out a tail, because we've seen it all happen. We even
yeah.
allowed Sri Lanka to win from that position. So we all know that. We all know the Kusal Pereira situation. Cool.
Quite right.
Okay. So Neil Brunt's century, has he cemented a spot? Because I look at this and I'm like, Dean Elgar comes into the side, right? So then does Tony bat at 3? Obviously, assuming Timber doesn't go, is this top 6 solidified ish?
It's an interesting one. We spoke about the Neil Brunt one. We spoke about it, and I thought at the time we were perhaps a little too pro Neil Brunt. But I was happy to go with it. I was happy to fly that flag because we love Neil Brunt. But he absolutely. I think he watched us. I think he watched the episode. I think he said, you know what? I'm going to have to deliver. I need to deliver.
Well, look.
And he
So
delivered.
Tim, I can tell you, right? We've had Neil Brunt on the show. We've had Dane. Yes. And they're in the shop window to play for the Proteas. And they want to like close the loop on a lot of people who come on the show and are Protea players. But look, and to a certain extent, that's what this tour is, right? For all these guys right now. They don't know what's going to happen come Feb. You don't know if players might get released. But best believe if I put down runs, I'm not getting out of the side.
Yeah.
And that's what Neil Brunt did.
Yeah.
You know.
And he showed the importance of getting in and making it count. We talked about it the first innings. He said, you know what? We made mistakes the first innings. I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to make this count. I'm going to make this innings mean something. And it absolutely does. You rightly pointed out that perhaps somebody like Joshua Richards could feel a little bit aggrieved. I'm not kidding. The reason why Neil Brunt is there is because of his bowling. That's going to be more important than you think. Even if he bowls half a dozen overs in New Zealand.
Yes.
It's half a dozen overs. It's half a dozen overs to give the pace bowlers a rest. That's invaluable. He doesn't necessarily have quite the talent that Joshua Richards has, but what he does have is what I think is BMT. I think he has that. I think he's got that BMT. He's got that determination to stick it in when things are tough, when times are hard, and he's making that cut. So your question about where Tony bats and vice versa, that may well happen. I'm not sure it will. I'm not saying it will, but it may well happen. But I do think that Neil also will know that it can't be this and then fail for the rest of the series. Okay. He's got another.
Who do you want to see
2 games
more? Who do you want to see do more? Who you're not sold on yet?
This is a little harsh.
But we need to talk about it, right?
I'm definitely not sold on Hamza.
Okay,
I said last
week. Fair.
I definitely said I'm not sold on him getting in, getting out. I need to see him, tuck it in and just rein it in. You don't have to play everything on that fourth stump. You really do not have to do that. You can leave those balls.
He's
Especially
he's
when you
found
get to
himself in a
50.
lot of trouble in the One Day Cup around that fourth stump, right? And I
Yeah,
kind of was
just leave
like,
it.
you're adapting to the high felt to new conditions, so I want to give him time, let him, bed in, and he did score 100 in the last 4-day game. So the question obviously is then, you know,
But
why is
this
he
is a step up
still?
now. Yeah, this
You,
is a step
no,
up.
but he has
Yeah,
to, right? He's played for the Proteas, right? He's one of the only few people in that team who's played for the Proteas, right? And so show us why, In games like this, you win games like this based on the number of guys who've actually had international experience. Look at what Jaden Seals did for the West Indies, right? He went up there, took 3 wickets, he led from the front, he made it very hard. And yes, he's younger than the majority of the team, but you can see that there's quality there, right? I failed to see that with Zubair, even though he is a former pro. And yes, you can say his career, he was moved around like Stian van Zyl. I get it, right? But here's an opportunity to get into a side and and make a name for yourself, right? And keep you in there. And to a certain extent, that's what I find tough about cricket, right? I don't know how you can make a cricketer say, here's your opportunity, take it, and not give it back to me. Like Manus, right? Manus Labuschagne is the king of this, right? He came on as a concussion substitute, largely because he was in Wales. Australia didn't want to fly somebody all the way across the world. So like, oh, here's this Australian. He comes in, scores 100. Oh, concussion substitute never leaves. Same thing with this ODI, with the ODI cricket, right? Everyone was like, he bats too slowly. Captain, he was supposed to go with the Australia A side, but injuries happen. He comes in, he makes the most of his opportunity. Where are those cricketers? Neil Brunt is one of them. He's done that, right? You want guys like Beddingham. You want guys like Hamza. You want guys like, obviously KP's in the side, but still make the most of that opportunity, right? Tipo Mariki as well. He's put his hand up and said, he's not leaving. 3 for 23. I'm here, against guys who've played for the Proteas. So for me, that's what I like. The guys I want to see more actually are from the guys who played for the Proteas. Hardest, Duan, sorry, Hamza. KP scored a half century, but you need to get more runs, dude. TDZ, you did quite well, but you want more. Guys like Neil Brunt, they've given us 100. If others need to follow,
yeah,
David Beddingham needs to
yeah.
show us why he's there. Currently, he's playing like pretty privilege, looks pretty, gets out after a few great strokes. We need big innings. You need someone to be like, I'm not leaving. Where's that guy?
Yeah,
And that's what I'm
like
asking.
yeah. That's why when I started my speech, I was thinking of betting at the time. I stand by what I said by Hamza, but I was thinking about betting at the time. Betting him has knocked the runs wherever he's been. Province, Durham, he's knocked the runs. He's got the average. He's got the average of 50. So everything says there, make runs. I was really annoyed at that 47. I was really annoyed. Yes, it was good. Yes, it looked good on the eye.
Yes, it's pretty privileged.
But it was a bad shot. It was a bad shot to Sinclair. It was a bad shot. There's no, he stood there and he thought it was a bad shot. And he'll know that. He'll know that. I'm less annoyed with the second innings, but he will know. I've delivered wherever I've gone. I now need to deliver at this level. He'll know that. He'll know that. And I actually think he will. I think in the next 2 games, if he gets both games, I think he will deliver. I think he'll score the 100, and he'll show everybody that actually he's not just a nice covering, a nice sweet covering. He's got density in there. There's density. There's strength. There's BMT. There's BMT within there. And the other one is the one. Look,
Yeah.
a lot of people say to me, why is he there? Shouldn't be there. And that's largely due to the fact that they weren't aware of the SA20 thing. But even when they are aware of it, they still say that. And I show them his test record. I go, average of 21. Average of 21, and he can't get in. But on what we saw in the last game, he needs to step up. If he wants to live up to that average of 21 in Test cricket, this is where he needs to take his chance. He needs to. He's no longer. We've said this before. He's no longer the bully that he was 5-6 years ago. He's now a swing bowler, gets people out, caught behind, and bowled. That's how he gets his wickets. That's how he needs to do it. He needs to bowl fuller length, and he will get those wickets, and he will perform much better. I have no doubt.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So looking at the next one, obviously they play tomorrow, right? And we'll just talk a little bit about West Indies after this. Yeah, do you make any changes? Obviously, Kai Zondo, Rena Fantonda, and Ronda Swata on the bench, and Dane Patterson's on the bench. So, do you make any changes?
I'd love to make 2 changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can make 2 changes because then you're sort of saying, well, you haven't quite knocked it in one game, so we're gonna. I think that top 6 needs another game. Let's put it that way. I think that top 6 needs another game.
And the bowling attack?
So, the bowling attack for me, Dane Patterson's got to come in. I think Dane has got to come in for Olafia or Hardis.
Okay.
We talked about the fuller length. The guy that's going to bowl the fuller length is Dane Patterson.
Okay.
That's the guy.
Another guy who was on our podcast as well. So, yeah, guys are returning back to the Proteas. Come to our podcast, and then there's a route into the Proteas setup. Okay, cool. Anybody at West Indies that impressed you? I know Jaden Seals, but we've seen Jaden Seals before. But is there anybody who you were like impressed by? I know we've also seen Tejnaran Chandapal, but yeah.
Hodge, and Sinclair. Hodge and Sinclair were outstanding. But I'm just gonna focus on Hodge because Hodge is in that top order. We knew how important Tage was in this inning, in this West Indian side. I knew that if we get him early, we're going to cause them problems. I genuinely thought that, which is why when we did it the second innings, I thought, well, that's it. They're gonna collapse. And they had their mini collapse, but they didn't falter. I thought Hodge, the way he left the ball in that first innings in particular, he was not interested in those short balls from Hardis or Dwan. Not interested at all. I thought he left the ball superbly. And I think a lesson could be learnt from the SAA guys. I was very impressed with Hodge. And then Sinclair's also played for the West Indies. We have seen him a little bit. I like his spin bowling. I've always been a fan of his spin bowling. I knew he could bat, but the way he marshalled that innings and that second innings was outstanding. The way he rotated the strike, the way he didn't when the wicket started to fall, he didn't say, well, now it's my time to hit out. That never came into his equation.
Just let me do my job. Someone's gonna find me along the road.
Exactly. He did his job, stayed in, he rotated the strike, he kept the scoreboard ticking. The only time that he made a mistake was when they needed 2. They needed 2. He drives at the offside, and he goes for the single. I had no idea. I can't imagine what was going through that poor boy's mind. But to his relief, McAllister managed to get the win. That was the only time where he made a genuine mistake throughout the 4 days. I thought he was bat and ball outstanding. Those 2 boys really.
And that's what this thing is, right? And a lot of these games are all about mentality. And I think the guys we're naming who did quite well for SAA and West Indies, they were the guys with a different mentality, right? And that's, for me, is what I think Coach Shukri is looking for, right? Is who's got a different mentality. And that's why coaches love Lazard Williams, right? You guys may think he's not the greatest, and he knows this, he told us this, but man's got a mentality like nobody else. There's no batsman he can't take out, and Tipa Mareki showed that, right? Neil Brunt showed you that mentality, and we're looking for more of that, and the West Indians showed you that. Kevin Sinclair told you he's not getting out. He's going to work with someone who's going to stick around with him, and he found someone, and they managed to put on 52 runs together, right? So to a certain extent, it's that you want to bring into your cricket side guys who have that, who have that mental capacity to go through. And we've seen how this team, how the Proteas have faltered at World Cups. But the one thing that's missing is guys who are like a Maxwell, who are like a Sinclair, who, when there's a collapse, they go, no, it ends with me, right? Or when your team needs you, you throw the ball to them and they take a wicket for you. Tapu Moregi, So my thing is that's what I want to see out of the next couple of games, right? Is who's got that mentality to step up to put the runs down. My thing would be is I'd actually rest Keegan Peterson. I know he didn't play enough cricket, but I'd play Kaya Zondo, give Kaya a chance. Obviously, Keegan's nailed on in that batting lineup to New Zealand, but I want to see someone like him Kaya get 2 games. I thought he would get 2 games, and some of the guys who are already in the Proteas setup would take a step back. Like for instance, Tony DeZorzi might take a step back probably in the 3rd game, and bring in Renat van Tonder or something. But those are guys I want to see. I want to give as much opportunities, but I hope there's communication, and I hope Coach Shukri is letting them know which games they're going to play and where. East London's going to be a different prospect. It's not going to be as bouncy. It's going to be a little bit low and slow. So the spinners might come into play. So Neil Brunt might actually have a big game. It won't be another Keshav Simon Harmer situation, but you never know. Dane Pete, Neil Brunt, Keshav and Simon Harmer from Wish or Light. Yeah, I think it'll be that. But what do you want to see from SAA tomorrow in their second game?
Yeah, I'm gonna focus on the batting. I want the guys to score. I want big runs. I want big runs in whenever their first innings is, whether it's batting first or batting second. I want to see a couple of hundreds. And we know, and I want to see from the guys that have not played for the Proteas. Guys that have not played for Proteas, go out and make big runs. We know Keegan can do it. We know Tony can do it. That's fantastic. Okay. We know
Hamza,
Keegan's not in
Bellingham, Fortain, Neil Brunt again.
Those boys.
Put your hands up. Mihlali, take a fifer. Who knows? You never know. Score 50 runs, score 70. Next thing, everyone's going to be questioning whether Marco Jansen should be playing on the Proteas team. That's what we want to see, right? You want a situation where you can be like, well, those guys who went to SA20 lost their opportunity because they wanted the money. It's not their fault, but they've taken that. But these guys here managed to either get us a draw or win the New Zealand series, and we're now moving into the World Test Championship without them. That'd be a great outcome.
Absolutely. We could potentially have a wider pool of players to pick from what's just happened. It won't be. It's not a deliberate thing, but and that would be a fantastic thing. If we can go and say Clyde Fortain can play Test cricket, I think that could be a fantastic thing. I really do.
I think he can. He's got
know,
glove work too.
I know people go, well, where's his career gone? His career's in a good place right now.
This is a chance to jump the queue.
Yes,
for me,
exactly.
all those guys there, if you play well, you jump the queue. Ahead of even the guys who are in SA20. The Rickletons that everyone's all talking about, all Rulofsons, all those guys who are waiting, Breitska, you can jump the queue easily.
Yeah.
Jordan Harriman, you can jump the queue. Okay. No, you can jump the queue over Jordan Harriman because they're playing there, right? Which is why I think a guy like a Josh Richards really, really needed to be here. Because he's the type of guy, I think, has it as a test batsman. But the only problem is that he's put down the runs. He's been one of the best openers we've had. It's just that he's not as spoken about, but like everyone else. Jordan Hammond scored runs, but Josh just had one bad season.
He's not sexy enough. It's simple. That's the problem with him.
And he opens in the hardest place in the world. It's not Lords. It's at the Wanderers.
No, I know. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. But I do think, I know this is going slightly off topic, but I do think his time will come if he delivers. it might take a little bit longer than he would want. Time is still on his hands. He's still got time.
No, I know that, but everyone's asking about young kids. He's the youngster, right? Obviously, Renat's the other guy. Everyone's been seeing him, and I'd like to see him play 2 games. So I think you got to give him some way.
Yeah, when I was talking about changes, I want to find a way to get him in, but at the same time, I kind of want that top 6 to remain.
Yeah,
you could. The problem is if you rest Tony, it's not a drop. If you rest Tony, you're gonna open with somebody who's not an opening batsman. That's my problem.
Yes,
that's my problem. So if you rest him and put Raynak in, that's fine. But I don't want him to open. He's not an opening batsman. He's not an opening. And then he fails, and you go, well, then he's obviously not up to scratch. So that's. I'd much happier if Berdia makes 200s tomorrow, and then gets rested for the final game. Raynak comes in for Berdia and scores runs.
Yeah,
it's only one game, but it's yeah.
Okay, Tim. I think let's close it here. SAA looking to square the series against the West Indies after the West Indies pulled off a great win last week. It starts tomorrow at Buffalo Park Stadium in East London. And yeah, all the best on CSA's YouTube channel. That's what it is.
Also, wait, entrance is free. So if you are in the area, go. If you're in the area, go to the cricket. Go watch these boys, because in a month's time you'll be seeing it on the telly playing in New Zealand. So go and see the boys.
And then you don't have to be like, who's this guy? Where did he come from? Well, then we'll just go to the Full Quota podcast and we'll tell you all about them. So that's a great thing. Tim, enjoy the cricket. I'll enjoy it. It's a lot less pressured compared to the World Cup. So we're really happy about that. And yeah, have a great week. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, follow us on Twitter, like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify for some audio stuff if you're an audio person like most of the world is. And yeah, send through your comments. Let me know if there's let us know if there's guys who want us to talk about certain situations. Just drop them in the comment section. We'll pick it up from there. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Enjoy SAA versus West Indies. I won't lie. It's giving me like
hope.
Prime Test series. I'm sitting there going, this should have actually been 5 days, but it's still great. So we'll do it. Three matches and some great competition, which is really, really awesome. So outside of that, guys, goodbye and lesale kakahiso. Oh, sorry.